swear I see Gustavo at every tournament, no matter where it is. North America, Europe, Asia. He'll find a spot where there's a tournament.
Right. Well, Evelyn didn't. I mean, with Gustavo, he does so well that I mean, why not? And when you have a talent to play the game like he has here today, as over the course of yesterday and today, you can see it's certainly justified. I mean, he's doing very well and looking in great standings for the rest of the tournament.
Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to kicking off this round here between two of the top players in the game right now, both choosing to run similar decks. We'll see which one has the advantage.
Yeah, and as you can see, just waiting to set up here. I'm just trying to think a bit more about the match that we saw yesterday. Well, as you can see, they are putting down prize cards here, so we can see a bit more as to what is prized. There's one Pikachu Zekrom GX prize there, one Lightning Energy and Energy Switch, and two Ultra Ball. I don't think there's anything too detrimental there to Gustavo's setup. Will be interesting to see what the opposing player has prized as well. We can have a look now. There is again one Pikachu Zekrom, one Wobbuffet, Jirachi Marshadow.
5 Pokemon.
5 Pokemon, yeah. So, and this deck is quite reliant on having those Jirachis. It'll be interesting to see how many Marshadows he plays. That tends to be a strong turn 1 opening if they can get that Marshadow out. There goes the handshakes. The players are ready to take the stage here. So, going first, let's see what he opens up with here.
It looks like Azul is going first. It actually opens up with the Mysterious Treasure. That's a curious card in these Pikachu and Zekrom decks. You know, it's mostly lightning Pokemon, and Mysterious Treasure only lets you search for Psychic or Dragon-type Pokemon. But one Psychic Pokemon you can search for is that Marshadow.
Right, Marshadow is such a great early game setup here because, I mean, you can not only replenish your hand, but you can play out your turn as you wish, play down all your Pokemon, attach your energy, play your item cards, your supporter cards, and then later finish with a Let Loose, which enables you to draw more cards. But more importantly, it will disrupt, well, Azul is hoping that it will disrupt Gustavo on his turn because he'll only draw 4 cards and then have 1 for his turn. He does have 2 Jirachi in play, so he will be able to Stellar Wish and try and dig for more resources.
Yeah, and Azul recognizes that. He says, look, my opponent already has 2 Jirachi. Let Loose is more likely to damage my hand than my opponent's because they have Stellar Wish to fall back on. So he actually grabs nothing with the Mysterious Treasure and attaches as many cards as he can so he can Lily for a full 6 cards here.
Yeah, and you know, getting the energy into the discard pile, especially when you have Tapu Koko out, when you have Dance of the Ancients, it's a clever strategy here because later he'll be able to retreat that Tapu Koko to the bench and then use Dance of Ancients. That will enable him to get some energy onto his bench. He does have the Lightning Energy on his Tapu Koko, which probably signifies that he is looking to retreat that Tapu Koko, ideally to go into something like a Jirachi would probably be his ideal Pokemon to go here into, and then use Stellar Wish. But interestingly, he attaches a Choice Band to that Tapu Koko, so that's telling me that maybe he has something up his sleeve that we're not too sure about.
Yeah, I think he played it just so he could Lily for more cards.
Right.
Just wanted to make sure he doesn't lose by not having more basic Pokemon, or not having any basic Pokemon in play. There's always that chance when there's Electro Power involved that even a 130 HP Pokemon like Tapu Koko Prism Star could be knocked out on the opponent's first turn. So just wanted to draw as many cards as he could. And like you said, here's that Stellar Wish coming in.
Yep, and he does have the escape board, which is going to attach to the active Jirachi, which means he will be able to retreat freely in and out of that Jirachi, even if it is asleep. What else is he working with in his hand? He can't attack this turn, so he is not too worried about the energy attachment here. So there is the sleep flip. Jirachi is awake. Interesting. I guess thinking from Gustavo's perspective that he probably will open up with a Zapdos and take the KO on this Jirachi, which is probably why he's opted not to attach that escape board onto his Jirachi, so he can savor it for another Pokemon that he has to put in the retreat in the active spots the following turn. Gustavo just goes straight for a Cynthia here.
Yeah, he had a lot of cards he could have played. He also had a Lily in hand, but it looks like he didn't want to burn Electro Powers when he didn't have to. This is a bit risky. I mean, he would love to get a first turn attack off here, but now it's kind of in the hands of what he draws off of this Cynthia. He's going to need to get Zapdos, Lightning Energy, plus a way to move Jirachi. We'll see if he can find it all, but if he misses, it's a big missed opportunity.
Yeah, this matchup sometimes becomes a bit of a stalemate. Most players tend to try and go with a Zapdos very early on, try not to concede prizes. Once they start to run out of Zapdos, they like to try and use Rescue Stretcher to put those Zapdos back into the deck if they are unable to. Sometimes they go with their GX Pokemon, so we've seen Zeraora being a play. We've seen Pikachu Zekrom. Obviously, the issue is that when you do put the Pikachu Zekrom and you start to stack a lot of energy onto it, there goes a Let Loose from Gustavo's side, is that Tapu Koko GX becomes a huge play in this matchup.
Yeah, so Gustavo was just trying to find a Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, anything that would let him find a Zapdos, because he had a Skateboard, he had Lightning Energy in hand, but looked at his top 5, didn't find anything good, and now he has to Let Loose, which means he's very unlikely to get an attack off this turn.
Right, he would be requiring at least one Zapdos, and then the energy, of course, to pull off the attack. Let's see what he draws here. He does have a Viridian Forest, I believe, was the first card. Well, I think he might actually have it in the end after all that. So yeah, he goes for the Zapdos. He can put the Viridian Forest out, obviously. Azul can take advantage of that as well. He'll be able to search for, there you go, he's discarding a Zeraora GX. I mean, I guess you don't really want to bench it at this point in, to try and concede not giving your opponent prizes. But, and you can Rescue Stretcher it later anyway. But
yeah, and the only other card he had to discard was Lily, which you don't want to get rid of your only supporter for the turn.
Right.
But now Azula's left in a very awkward position. He has no energy in play. He attached the Choice Band to Tapu Koko Prism Star, so he can't put a Skateboard on it. So he needs to find a switch or some other way to move Tapu Koko. Otherwise, he might not be able to attack this turn.
Right, and we saw him go for that Marshadow actually last turn. Well, put the Marshadow into his hand. I believe he still has the Marshadow in hand. So he can Let Loose if he wants to. That is one additional way of drawing cards. Yeah, I mean, it's a case of, at this point, trying to second-guess what Gustavo has in his hand, whether it's a drawing supporter, which we know it is, but at this point, Azil doesn't know that. He doesn't have access to that information. He's just looking at his hand. What is he going to go for here? There is a Muscle Band, a Choice Band, which he is choosing to discard with Viridian Forest to get the energy attachment for the turn. There is the Lightning Energy, which we presume will go on Zapdos, ready to use Thunderous Assault this turn. There goes Guzma. So there is his switching cards. And Field Blower, which
Field Blower away the Viridian Forest, making it more difficult for Gustavo to perhaps find energy on the following turn. But yeah, at the very least, he'll get a knockout here. It does feel bad when your opponent only has 2 cards that you let loose and give them 4 cards instead. But Azul can probably assume one of those cards was a supporter card, so it doesn't feel too bad. And his hand was also pretty bad, so it's time to let loose.
And that's kind of the beauty of Marshadow, is that you can use it offensively as well as disruptively as well. You can try and get more cards into your hand, so it can be a benefit to you as well as disrupting your opponent as well, as we've just seen. Nest Ball is going for a Jirachi there, which won't come into play this turn because he's looking to attack with the Zapdos. He does have the knockout on the opposing Jirachi, so Azul taking a pretty good setup
that
here.
Has to go to his bench, yeah. Yeah, he played Nest Ball, so has to go directly to the bench.
Yeah. So, interestingly, does he have something in hand to retreat that Jirachi?
Yeah, I think he has an escape board in
Okay,
hand, so.
right. Okay, that would make sense, because otherwise, why would he put that active, knowing that he can take the knockout this turn? So, right, yeah, that would make a lot more sense. So, Jirachi goes back in down to the bench through retreat because of the skateboard, and the first prize is taken.
Yeah, so this is typical of these Lightning decks, this kind of mirror match. It usually opens up with Zapdos fighting back and forth, and then at some point somebody has to do something differently. They have to either power up a big GX, or, I mean, that's typically what has to happen. At some point you'll see Pikachu and Zekrom come down when somebody has realized, okay, I'm behind a prize, I have to try to fix this somehow. But the only other way things really change is if somebody misses an attack. It's tough to do when you have Jirachi every turn, you have Stellar Wish, and all you really need is Zapdos and Lightning Energy and maybe one Electro Power, but it can happen. You can miss an attack sometimes, especially because these players aren't running the full-blown Zapdos deck where it's your only attacker. They typically only run 1 to 2 Zapdos and a few Rescue Stretchers, so sometimes they can run out of those Zapdos.
Right, and so a lot of these decks are more, especially with the Pikachu Zekrom builds, that tend to be less focused on Zapdos. So for that reason, it's kind of try and play a little bit more conservatively. But yeah, I don't know. From there goes a Wobbuffet he's putting down on the bench, which means that. Interestingly, which will negate the effect of those Prism Star cards being used.
Yeah, there's already a Tapu Koko Prism Star on Azul's bench. And whoa, looks like Gustavo's just going in with Tapu Koko GX, plays down the Thunder Mountain Prism Star, and says, you know what, without your Tapu Koko Prism Star, my Tapu Koko GX can't really be knocked down in one hit. You're going to need like 3 Electro Powers with the Zapdos to knock this out. So Gustavo taking kind of a calculated risk here.
Right, he's obviously measured up, calculated everything that he needs to know at this moment. So as you say, yeah, that Tapu Koko is sitting on the bench, but won't get affected because of Wobbuffet is in play because of Shady Tail. There is 1 Electro Power. Did he play 1 or 2 Electro Powers this turn? I thought I saw
just 1. Yeah.
1. Okay.
And unfortunately for Azul, he's already burned 2 of his choice bands. I believe he only plays 2. So he really needs to find 3 Electro Powers if he wants to knock out this Tapu Koko GX.
Right, so on top of that, he also needs to get the Zapdos onto the bench as well. So that's a lot to ask for a single turn of 6 cards. But we'll see, he still has Stellar Wish. He can still use that. And there's a Marshadow in there as well, so he can opt to try and draw more cards if he wishes to. So there are some of the pieces to the puzzle. He has the Nest Ball, which will get him Zapdos. He has the Lightning Energy. There chooses to go for Stellar Wish first, and yeah, it looks like it's not going to happen this turn, unfortunately for him. So it might just be a case of trying to hit for some damage, and then, but you know, then you receive the knockout the following turn. But it'll be interesting to see what approach he goes with here.
Yeah, I guess even if you don't get the one-hit knockout, as long as you can hit this Tapu Koko GX for some damage, you can finish it off later. It would be nice to get the one-hit knockout here, but just doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Yeah, it looks, yeah, it's not going to happen this time. I mean, they're debating whether to put that Pikachu Zekrom. We've seen so many times over the course of this tournament that Tapu Koko GX has just come out and, you know, knocked out that Pikachu Zekrom GX. So he's evidently very hesitant on putting that down. He does have Marshadow if he wishes to try and draw more cards, but he chooses not to do that and plays it safe. So there goes 1 Electro Power there for Azul. Let's see what Gustavo has going on here.
Yeah, this is a fascinating spot now. Azul has basically said, you know what, you already have your Tapu Koko GX in play, which is the biggest counter to Pikachu and Zekrom in this matchup. So he just puts down his Pikachu and Zekrom, attaches. He knows the Thunder Mountain Prism Star is already out there, so he can attack with full Blitz next turn and knock out this Tapu Koko GX if he can find just 1 Electro Power. And it would force Gustavo to find Rescue Stretcher to bring it back. And because of the Wobbuffet Shady Tail, it also kind of turns off his own Tapu Koko Prism Star. You can get around that if it's your active Pokemon, because it only works from the bench, but this is going to be a tricky game to navigate at this point. Gustavo's just knocking out that Tapu Koko Prism Star, and that means Azul can be free to attack with the Pikachu and Zekrom this turn.
Yeah, so Thunder Mountain is in play, which means that the energy requirements will be 1 less. He can get some energy onto his side of the board as well. I don't know if he wants to think about powering up something different, an alternate attacker. That's kind of the issue, the risk that you play with this deck is when you start to power up things like big tag team GX Pokemon, like some GX Pokemon like your Tapu Kokos, like your Zero Auras, that you are reliable or you are liable to receiving the knockout, which would then concede 2 prizes, in some cases 3. So there is a Stellar Wish. Has 2 Electro Powers that he's just drawn into there. 2 Electro Powers of Cynthia and Nest Ball. He chooses to go for 1 of the 2 Electro Powers that he finds. So that will guarantee the knockout for this turn. He will get the knockout on Tapu Koko. Just needs that 1 energy, which he has in hand. And Thunder Mountain is in play. There is the Electro Power. And we assume, well, they're just going to cut the deck. And then Pikachu Zekrom will go active, not before playing a Lily, just to refresh his hand up to 6 cards.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Azul wants to let loose this turn. Gustavo kind of sat on his hand, didn't really do anything. I mean, that could mean one of 2 things. One is that he doesn't have a very good hand, or 2, that he's holding on to things like Rescue Stretcher, and that is a scary thing to deal with. You see Gustavo has 3 prize cards remaining. That means all he has to do is knock out that Pikachu and Zekrom GX, and he wins.
Right.
This is going to be very tricky for Azul to navigate.
Yeah, I mean, at this moment, because that Wobbuffet is in play, it means he can't get the energy onto his side of the board from the discard pile with his Tapu Koko, his Prism Tapu Koko. That is, it would require a rescue structure to get that Tapu Koko back into your hand and then try to go through and try and establish some energy on his side of the board. But yeah, I mean, that Pikachu Zekrom GX is looking very inviting for that Tapu Koko. It's just the issue is whether or not he can he's able to recover that and then get the energy in order to get the knockout. So, but Thunder Mountain is in play as well. So let's see, what has he drawn off this Stellar Wish here? Kind of concealing his hand, so it's a little bit difficult to see. I think there's an energy switch in there.
Yeah, he doesn't find anything great. Oh, Azul needs to take his prize cards. That helps. Yeah, I think there's an Ultra Ball, a Guzma. Those are his only options. Neither of those are Rescue Stretcher. I don't actually know if he has any draw supporters in his hand. Looks like it's just full of items like energy switches and electro powers and things that are normally helpful, but in this situation just aren't going to do anything.
Right, and yeah, with no Rescue Stretcher, it's going to be a bit difficult to recover that Tapu Koko, so he's going to have to start thinking about going down another route here. I mean, he has a Pikachu Zekrom of his own here, but no attachment. So, for example, I mean, he could go, if he had an attachment and energy switch and then try and do it that way, but then he might be susceptible to that Tag Bolt GX attack as well, on which with a Choice Band or a Electro Power would probably rack up the damage and try and knock out the 3 prizes. So something he has to be cautious about as well. But just playing it conservative here, going with the Wobbuffet active. If that Wobbuffet does get knocked out, then Tapu Koko comes alive and he is able to use that Dance of the Ancients.
Yeah, so now that Wobbuffet is the active Pokemon, Shady Tail isn't working, so he can use Dance of the Ancients. He has put down his own Pikachu and Zekrom GX. So if he is unable to win this turn, that is now a 3 prize liability for him. Although Azul has burned through a lot of Choice Bands and Electro Powers, so it may not be possible for him to knock out that 3 prize Pokemon.
Right, so the question is here is, does that Wobbuffet stay active for the rest of the turn? I believe it does because there's no switching cards in his hand. There is a Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, and Energy Switch in his hand there. So he just passed his turn with that Wobbuffet active. So he's going to pass that over to Azul.
This is quite a bizarre stalemate we're in.
We've kind of gone a bit back and forth here. And yeah, so I imagine that, does Azul play Tapu Koko GX? I mean, I guess if he does play, okay. So that's one factor to keep in mind here. But
there's only 3 energy on Gustavo's board, so Tapu Thunder not really doing much here. He does still have his GX attack. Let's see. He does have 2 Electro Powers remaining, so he would need to find both of those plus a Guzma this turn, and he could use Tag Bolt GX and knock out Gustavo's Pikachu and Zekrom and win the game that way.
It's kind of that thing when you're in this matchup and you have only 3 prizes remaining, you know the end is kind of in sight because you know as long as you can knock out one of those big tag team GX Pokemon that you are able to take 3 prizes. So that'll be on both players' minds at this moment. There's no other GXs, I believe, on the bench here. So it's not like you can knock out, for example, a GX plus a non-GX Pokemon. That would also win the game, but that is not available at this moment. Looking at his hand... Yeah, I mean, there's another...
I'll see him switch into one of these Jirachi. I think Azul probably feels good because Gustavo didn't play a single supporter card on his turn and ended his turn with Wobbuffet active. That means Gustavo would have to top deck something to win the game next turn, and Azul's just... playing all of his cards whatever way he can, but he's actually going to go for the Let Loose. Wow. He doesn't have a ton of cards left in his deck, so he might think, hey, with 2 Jirachi and drawing 4 cards off of this Let Loose, there's a good chance I can draw a Guzma and both of my Electro Power to win right here.
Right.
But it gives Gustavo 4 new cards.
Yeah, that's kind of the downfall, but high risk, high reward. We saw that being played earlier, actually. We saw Adam Hawkins, I believe it was, went for sprint for 4 cards and managed to get that Guzma into hand. So we've seen that it does work already. So there's 1 Electro Power.
Yeah, he's alive. He gets 2 chances at Stellar Wish, so he needs to hit Guzma or Electro Power here.
There's no Guzma or Electro Power. There's
Switch also can extend this because he now has 3 Jirachi on board, so he gets 3 Stellar Wishes.
Wow. So he's going to retreat into a Jirachi Stellar Wish, and if he misses it, then switch again. That's crazy. So let's see. I mean, his deck is looking really thin. He knows that those resources are in there. He just needs to try and dig them out here. So let's see if he is able to do that. So into Jirachi number 2, Stellar Wish.
Okay, he needs to find Guzma or Electro Power here. There is the Guzma. All right, now he gets 1 more Stellar Wish. If he can find he can find Electro Power number 4, he can tag Bolt GX to win right here.
Some tense moments here. We have to see.
Probably about 10 cards left in his deck.
Right, and he's going to be going about 5 of those with Stellar Wish. So let's see. Does he find the last pieces to the puzzle? There's a Skateboard, Lily, Nestball, Rescue Stretcher. And
no. 5 trainer cards, but none the one he is looking for. Oh boy. So at this point, it is very nerve-wracking for Azul.
Right.
Now it's back in his opponent's court. If Gustavo is able to find Guzma plus an Electro Power, he can knock out that Pikachu and Zekrom GX.
And that's the thing. It's a lot of back and forth in this matchup. I mean, once you miss, as you see in this case, I mean, he had the Guzma, the Electro Power. Just need that 1 more Electro Power. Once you do miss that, it becomes very nerve-wracking, especially when your opponent can, return the knockout in this case. So chooses to go to the Lily, or go with Lily here. Still, did he find, I don't believe he did find that extra Electro Power, so still within the contents of his deck.
Oh, but Gustavo, he found Guzma and Electro Power, and he can tag Bolt GX for 260 damage and take game number 1.
Yeah, so, but that's just, I guess, the luck is, with a lot of the Pokemon trading card game is you try and work out the maths in your favor. You try and get the probability as much as you can on your side, and sometimes there are times when you just miss. You have so many opportunities. In this case, you saw that his deck was very thin, using Stellar Wish 3 times in that one turn, and missing the last piece of the puzzle, which would have got him the game.
Yeah, that's just how close this matchup is between these 2 great players. Both players had an opportunity to win the game. Azul missed his. Gustavo drew the right cards off of that let loose, and that's all it took.
Yeah, and as you said, it's like gets to a point where it's kind of like a bit of a stalemate between these 2 decks. Once you start to face decks that are very similar to yours, you start to kind of go back and forth. Should I bench my Pikachu Zekrom? Should I, bench this GX Pokemon? Because you're always susceptible to those big knockouts, as we've just seen there, that you have 3 prizes remaining. That Tag Bolt GX was enough to knock out that Pikachu Zekrom and take the final 3 prizes there.
Yeah, we heard Jitman in his interview saying that his deck was high risk, high reward with that Greninja. But I think Pikachu and Zekrom kind of inherently is also high risk, high reward. If you ever get to full Blitz and then Tag Bolt GX to hit 2 Pokemon at once, then it is a high reward. But if it ever gets knocked out, it gives up 3 prize cards, so it is always a massive risk.
Right, and that's the kind of the risk you take, I guess, with coming to a tournament with a deck that is so popular, is that people know the deck inside out and they know the counters to play to try and get around that. So we saw yesterday, actually, in one of our feature matches, we saw Stefan use that Tapu Koko GX to great effect, seeing that there was a Pikachu Zekrom GX with, I think it was about 6 energy in the active spot, and he was able to put his Tapu Koko GX down, sweep in, and just take the game. And we've seen that that happens a lot over the course of these big tournaments, is that once a deck becomes so popular, once an archetype becomes so popular, people know how to counter it and also to play around it.
Whoa, this game is already much different. Azul starts with the Pikachu and Zekrom GX and says, you know what, if I started with one, might as well put down the other. And he is just going full tag team here.
Right, and on Gustavo's side, that's probably I mean, that's your 6 prizes right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 3 prizes from one knockout and then 3 for the other. So Gustavo knows that he has already the win condition. It's just a case of how does he go around trying to knock out those Pokemon, or if he chooses to go down another route here. But
miserable hand for Azul off the Cynthia. He does find Ultra Ball at least, but it was 3 Electro Power, Lightning Energy, Jirachi, Ultra Ball. And so he just has to Ultra Ball for Marshadow and let loose. This is a very scary spot for him to be in. He's already played his supporter for the turn, and he's going down to 4 cards. Not a good spot.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already played it, as you said. He has played the supporter, so it can be used as a way of trying to refresh your hand as well as trying to disrupt Gustavo here. Gustavo will draw 4 cards, draw 1 for his turn, which would be 5 in total. Does have that Stellar Wish ability, so that is another factor he can also consider to try and get himself out of the situation. But as you can see, I believe that's, no, that's Azul's hand. I thought it was Gustavo's. So yeah, we'll have to see what Gustavo has drawn in his hand. There goes a Nest Ball there. See what options he goes with.
Yeah, this is not a terrible draw for Azul. He does find Nest Ball. He gets an energy for the turn, so that's good. And he has a supporter for next turn.
Right.
But it's not the explosive start you want when you're putting down 2 Pikachu and Zekrom GX in the first turn. You would love to get energy in the discard pile, use the Tapu Koko Prism Star to get some energy out and try to guarantee yourself a turn 2 full blitz. But this is a much slower start, and he's actually going for that Wobbuffet to perhaps stop the Dance of the Ancients on Gustavo's side.
Yeah, so he can see that Dance of the Ancients is down. It's interesting that maybe he didn't opt to go for a Tapu Koko of his own. That would obviously free up the fact that he would be able to use that Tapu Koko, but instead has chosen not to do that. So let's see how Gustavo opens up here. He goes with that Stellar Wish, gets an Ultra Ball there. So
yeah, and starting off with the Jirachi once again, exactly what you want. It is obviously a very strong card. That Stellar Wish ability just lets you sift through your deck and find the cards you need. As Gustavo is going straight for the Pikachu and Zekrom GX, but yeah, whenever you can start with it, it just makes things so much easier.
Right, and you want to be switching in and out of those Jirachis just because you want to gain the full effect of that Zapdos. Of course, Jirachi does give you the option of using Stellar Wish, so it's quite handy in that respect. But yeah, as you can see, Gustavo is taking a bit of a different route going into this matchup. He's looking to go straight with Zapdos as opposed to Azul, who is choosing to go with the Pikachu Zekroms. So be interesting to see how this one works out. Pikachu Zekrom GX does need more energy, does need 2 more energy. There is a Thunder Mountain and a Lightning Energy in hand, so he is, or does have access to using full Blitz this turn, which is going to get some energy both onto, so he's going to go back into the deck, take the knockout on that Zapdos, and also in the process put some more energy onto that Pikachu, that bench Pikachu Zekrom as well.
That was a very nice draw from Azul. It's always nice to find your Prism Star card, that Thunder Mountain Prism Star. You only have 1 in your deck, but when you draw it, it changes everything. It speeds up your attack by a whole turn. And now it's up to Gustavo to respond. And, you know, because of that Wobbuffet on Azul's bench, there's no option to use Tapu Koko Prism Star. And there's currently no energy in play, which means that there's no way for Gustavo to power up Tapu Koko GX to respond with that Tapu Thunder. So if he wants to get a knockout this turn, he's going to need to find a bunch of Electro Powers. Boy, this is a scary spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from Gustavo's side, perhaps he's thinking that, I mean, if you play like 3 for 3 at this moment, for example, if you go, if you're able to go through a few Zapdos to try and take out one of those Pikachu Zekrom GXs, and that works as like a prize exchange of conceding 3 prizes for 1 Tag Team GX Pokemon and 3 non-GX Pokemon. So I guess, you know, even though it looks like a scary situation at the moment, there are opportunities for him to try and claw this back. But yeah, I don't know, from Gustavo's side, it's difficult to, I mean, the one thing that he's really lacking at the moment is getting some energy on the board. So Zapdos is going to be the Pokemon that I imagine he'll choose to go to. for that reason. He'll choose to attach to that since it's quite efficient. Actually, Thunder Mountain is still in place, so he doesn't even need the energy attachment for this turn.
His hand is also terrible.
Well,
that doesn't help.
right.
He has to pass the turn.
So there's no switching cards to get out of the situation. So,
and now this is a big window for Azul. If he has Guzma in hand, he could go after his opponent's Pikachu and Zekrom GX and maybe not get a knockout this turn, but he can just full blitz, hit it for 150, and then set up for a massive Tag Bolt GX where he can take a 4 prize card turn.
Yeah. It's crazy how much damage you can get onto the board and how many knockouts you can get just from this one Pokemon. But that's why we've seen it so much over the course of this weekend. It's just because you see here how powerful it is. And yeah, it's a very high risk, high reward. But when it pays off, it's hugely rewarding, as you can see here. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets from this. So, okay, he gets a Lily from that, from the Stellar Wish. Let's see, switch. Sorry, did he get a Lily or the switch from that?
I thought he got Lily too.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I thought he got the Lily. Well, anyway. Let's see what he chooses to go for here. He does have Field Blower in hand if he wants to really try to... well, actually, no, Field Blower wouldn't affect the Thunder Mountain, but let's see.
Yeah. I think Azul's trying to figure out which Pikachu and Zekrom he should attack with. Should he send out the one that's already damaged? It poses a slight risk if Gustavo is able to find a bunch of Electro Powers, or he could just go straight away with the healthy one and full blitz for 150 damage and probably just pile all that energy onto his active Pokemon and say, you know what? If you can't deal with this, this game is going to be over very quickly.
Right, and I mean, because of that Wobbuffet is in play, he risks no Tapu Koko GX coming out here to take a revenge KO because he has no energy to power up that Tapu Koko GX. So that is obviously something that's going through Azul's mind at the moment. He's realizing it's a clean slate at the moment. It's safe to put all that energy onto that Pikachu Zekrom because Thunder Mountain is in place. So he, well, even though he can attack, there is...
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Gustavo just conceded here. He had no way of really taking a knockout, and Tag Bolt GX was coming. Azul was about to get a 4 prize turn, and no sense in playing that game out. That's the hallmark of a great and experienced tournament player such as Gustavo. You know that you need to get wins to make it to the top 8. Getting ties at this stage of the tournament doesn't help you at all. You need to get 3 match points with a victory, and to do that, you need enough time to play out the entire match. So there's no point in playing out a game that you're very likely to lose anyway.
Yeah, and as you can see, we have just under 20 minutes on the clock, so that is enough time to play out one of these matches. We've seen how quickly the pace of this match goes just based on the fact that you can start attacking from the first turn. As early as the first turn and second turn, you can start using that full blitz if they choose to do so. So a lot of time still on the clock to get a match or to find a winner between these two players. So we will see how it plays out here. Gustavo will be going first, which means he won't be able to attack, but he'll be able to try and get an early game setup. Azul will have the option of attacking on his turn.
Yeah, those two games played out very differently. Even the strategies were very different between the two players. So the first game, there was a lot of Zapdos attacking back and forth. It was ultimately decided by Pikachu and Zekrom, but Zapdos was very important in the early parts of the game. But then game 2, it was just power up Pikachu and Zekrom, and that got the job done.
Right, and yeah, when you have no energy on the board, as you saw, Gustavo was struggling to get energy. He couldn't use his Tapu Koko, his Prism Tapu Koko, to get some energy on the board.
Speaking
there is
of
one. Wow. There's the Tapu Koko in the prizes there. There's one Zapdos and one Pikachu Zekrom GX in the prizes as well. So that Wobbuffet isn't really going to be doing too much from Azul's side. He probably will opt to go for it, not knowing that that Tapu Koko is going to be prized. So that will probably just sit on the bench for a while. But yeah, when you don't have much energy going on the board, as Gustavo did, that Pikachu Zekrom is very free to start taking very big knockouts, and to start racking up a lot of energy onto your side of the board as well. So it's going to be a case of trying to set up a lot more efficiently from Gustavo's side. There is enough time. There's 2 Guzma in the prizes there. So one Mysterious Treasure, which, as you saw, he was using to search out for those Marshadows.
Yeah, 2 Guzma, that's a really big deal, but otherwise nothing too big. I think having Tapu Koko Prism Star in your prize cards is a much, much bigger deal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but as you can see, there is the Wobbuffet active. Gustavo is going to use Nest Ball. He's going to check the contents of his deck here. Probably not too long because he's probably cautious about the amount of time that is on the round. There is a Zeraora GX coming to the bench, which we haven't seen in this matchup just yet. Whether he's choosing to attack with it or to try and go down that route, or he's playing Electro Power, which he can't attack this turn, but he's using it just to try and reap the full benefits of having that Lily, which is drawing up to 8 cards. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he chooses to go with here. What is his main attacker over the course of this matchup? Notably, Azul does start with a lone Absol, which means he can't retreat in and out as much as he would like with that Jirachi, unless of course he does have a lightning energy because of Zeraora being on his side of the board. So, but well, we'll see what he decides to go with here.
Yeah, I think Gustavo was kind of hedging a bit, knowing that he really needed to get Wobbuffet out of the active spot this turn. Grabbed Zeraora GX, saying, okay, if I at least draw lightning energy, I can retreat for free and send out Jirachi. Hopefully I draw a switch, but he did not, and so he attached the energy, and he can always energy switch it off later, as he's doing right now. And he is trying to gear up for a quick Pikachu and Zekrom. You know, this is one of the nice aspects of this Pikachu and Zekrom deck in a tournament environment. When time is low, you can finish games quickly. You might not win all the time, but when you just go straight for Pikachu and Zekrom, somebody is going to win very quickly, and it's a great way to get matches finished.
Yeah, we've seen so many times over the course of this weekend where players have adapted their strategies to trying to close out games, or even to try to play for ties when they've been in positions where it's a bit difficult to find the win. So, yeah, I mean, over the course of this last game, it's, well, the first game we saw more Zapdos, more trying to take just one prize knockouts. But here, we're kind of going all out because, as you were saying, Kyle, that, yeah, you do need wins, not ties, to try and get in to the top 8.
Yeah, this Wobbuffet from Gustavo is really important. Disabling the Tapu Koko Prism Star for Azul, it just limits the options that Azul can have to respond to a Pikachu and Zekrom. If Gustavo were to, get Thunder Mountain Prism Star, full Blitz, it just without having Dance of the Ancients there to accelerate more energy, it just lessens the ability of Azul to respond to it. And I think Azul recognizes that, and he attaches the lightning energy to his own Pikachu and Zekrom, knowing that, okay, my energy is probably safe here, and I need this in play because I need to have one so I can put down Tapu Koko GX.
Right, I think an ideal turn for him here would be, I was just going to say the Thunder Mountain would be so useful at this moment. He's just got the Thunder Mountain into his hand. So if he has an energy, a lightning energy, he can't retreat with the Jirachi. He needs a switching card because the Jirachi is asleep. He's going for Zapdos here. Guzma.
Yeah, this is smart. You can soften up the Pikachu and Zekrom a little bit. Then when you full blitz, you can get a knockout. It's a 3-prize knockout, and taking the 1 prize on the Zapdos isn't going to be a big deal in a world where, GXs are going down. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a smart play from Gustavo. It just reduces the amount of electro powers he'll need in the future. Yeah,
and actually Gustavo is holding on to that Tapu Koko GX in his hand too. So, I mean, that could be a viable option if Azul starts to try and build up another Pikachu Zekrom GX here, which he is going for an Ultra Ball. So we'll see what he gets from that. Gustavo is starting to mount some energy onto his side of the board, so it'll be interesting to see if he decides to go down that route to use Tapu Koko GX. But at the moment he's going through, and there you go, there is the other Pikachu Zekrom GX here, and I think at this point it's kind of mandatory that he does get it out because, I mean, we have a little under 13 minutes on the clock here. He needs to start winning this game, and to do that, you need to start taking multiple prizes here, and that is done by taking knockouts on things like GX Pokemon, like Tag Team GX Pokemon, or even using Tag Bolt to the maximum 200 and trying to knock out Pokemon on the bench as well.
Yeah, this is a very awkward turn for Azul, though. He does not have Thunder Mountain Prism Star in his hand, so simply attaching energy will not allow him to use full blitz. He needs to either draw that or play a switch and switch into his Jirachi, which probably means he won't attack this turn. It's just a very awkward board for him right now.
Right, so that means that if Gustavo has something like a Guzma or something like that, he could bring that Pikachu Zekrom back up to the active spot. He can use Full Blitz for the knockout. What does he just use? Is this Cynthia,
yeah.
right, yeah. So he's just using Cynthia. Not good. So one electric power, one energy switch. Not really doing too much for him at the moment.
Yeah, that's a miserable draw. Now he's got to decide, does he want to just completely abandon ship on the active and energy switch away from it? He was really hoping to get an attack off there, but nothing going in this hand right now. And he's got no supporters for the next turn.
Wow, and he's conceding 3 prizes in the process, but I don't think he has an option here. He has to just concede the fact that that Pikachu Zekrom probably will get knocked out this turn, which is not good. From Gustavo's side, I guess Gustavo probably sees a win condition here. If he can knock out that Pikachu Zekrom on the bench, if he can get something like, maybe not this turn, but in a couple of turns in the future, if he's able to knock out that bench Pikachu Zekrom and get the Tag Bolt GX and then knock out the other Pikachu Zekrom, you can take 6 prizes actually in one single turn. So he's certainly weighing up his options here, choosing to seeing what he goes with here. He played a Volkner, I believe.
Yeah, he's grabbing the Lightning and the Choice Band, so I think he's gearing up for a full blitz this turn. He's already got the Thunder Mountain in hand, and because of Zeraora GX's ability, he can simply retreat the Zapdos. And here comes Pikachu and Zekrom GX. With that Choice Band, he can full blitz for a knockout after he plays down Thunder Mountain, and this is just a miserable spot for Azul to be in. Right. Gives up 3 prize cards. Gustavo gets to attach 3 energy probably to the Zeraora GX. And, I mean, what do you do if you're Azul? If you set up the next Pikachu and Zekrom, that's in danger of just losing the game. If it gets knocked out, it's just game over.
Right, and that's kind of the danger with these decks when you do play these high-risk, high-reward tag team GX Pokemon like Pikachu Zekrom is that, yeah, you concede 3 prizes, and Gustavo, just from 1 knockout, is already halfway to winning this series, which he'll eventually take 2-1. You do have to believe that Gustavo is in a better situation at the moment. He has a much better setup, and I think just being, unless, I mean, at this point, one option perhaps Azul might be able to go for, I don't know, is to use Tag Bolt GX, which he does have in sight. That would do 200. He would need some Electro Powers or a Choice Band to push him over the line to get that knockout on the opposing Pikachu Zekrom GX. That does leave him slightly susceptible if he then has the Revenge KO the following turn. There is a Zeraora, but he's asking for a lot to get the knockout on that. But
yeah, it just even if he pulls that off, then the game is tied, and then Gustavo gets the first shot at his second Pikachu and Zekrom. Even if he can't get a one-hit knockout, I mean, he's going to hit it for a significant amount of damage with the Zeraora GX, and it's going to be tough for Azul to find a path to victory here. I think maybe his best shot is trying to find enough Electro Powers where he can full blitz and get a knockout, and try to power up for the Tag Bolt GX win on the next turn, but even that leaves him vulnerable to a Tapu Koko GX swooping in for the win. So he's basically just playing the odds at this point and hoping it works out.
Right.
Based on that hand, I don't know if it will.
Right, so he's not really working with too much here. He did let loose so Stellar Wish. Here, let's see what he goes for here. There's the option, there is a switch, there's an Electro Power as well, so there's something he can work with. He could go switch back into the other Jirachi if he chooses to do so. And Stellar Wish again, Electro Switch, which will bump up the damage of this Pikachu Zekrom GX. That will take 200 up to 230, which means he'd be 10 short of the knockout, which he would need a second Electro Power, but does not have that in hand.
He has basically 0 useful cards in his hand, so I think he has to take Switch, go into his other Jirachi, and hope to find Cynthia or some supporter, because I don't think he's played a supporter card yet. Something that allows him to refresh his hand and maybe draw into a way to switch the Jirachi plus another Electro Power, because right now what he has just isn't working. He's got to find some combination of cards that allows him to at least get a knockout this turn.
Right, so there goes a switch. Sure, just Contemplating, no, he does go for the switch in the end. Waiting to use Stellar Wish to draw 5 cards, trying and replenish his hand a little bit. There is a Lily, but Lily is going to be quite difficult to really maximize the... Let's see, how many cards can he remove from his hand at the moment? I don't think he even has any bench space to play that down, that last Jirachi.
I actually don't think he can play any of his cards. He has the energy switch, but he can't move the energy off of his Pikachu and Zekrom. Then he won't be able to attack.
Does he have an energy in hand?
Yeah, he's already played one for the turn.
Right, okay. So yeah, I was thinking one option would be to attach and then energy switch, but if he's played the energy, that's kind of null and void.
Yeah, I think he has to take... Well, I guess he's going to take Choice Band. I was going to say he has to take Lily and just draw 2 cards and hope to draw a perfect 2 cards.
I think that's really the route he has to go down here. So I have to try and remember what is in his hand. I think he had, was it 1 Electro Power that he has in hand?
I mean, I think he's played one already before the Let Loose, but otherwise I don't think he has anything he can play. It's just going to be a Lily for 2 cards, and he needs to find like Choice Band or Electro Power plus a way to move this Jirachi.
Right, so it's asking for a lot at this moment, but we'll see.
Oh, has he not attached already? Okay, so that means he can play down a little bit.
Yeah, so he's got 4 cards from that. Let's have a look what he gets. He needs to get this Jirachi out of the active spot. Out of the active spot. There goes the. He has an escape board in hand, so he will have access of retreating that Jirachi.
That's not good enough. He can't even get a knockout here.
Can he? Did he have an Electro Power or a Choice Band in hand? Or did he? I think he... Okay, no, he doesn't. So
yeah,
he's opted for Tapu Koko here. So not good.
That's not good at all. And so now Gustavo, I mean, if he can find Guzma and Electro Power, he can simply Tag Bolt GX for the final 3 prize cards and win this game, take down Azul, and get his 10th victory here at this tournament. Right,
so you can see he's got in hand, he's got 1 Acerola and 1 Lily there, which he does not want to play because he's looking to try and get that Guzma. He has Tapu Lele. And, okay. So, yeah.
He's going to Wonder Tag for that Guzma.
Right.
If he has Electro Power in hand, it's game over.
Yeah, so let's see what he... I believe he doesn't have it in hand. I believe I saw 1 Lily and 1 Acerola. So I think he doesn't have it. So is he just thinking to... He's going with Zeraora.
Yeah, I think he's just trying with a 2-hit knockout, right?
Right.
There's nothing else Azul even has powered up. What can he do, right? How does he even get a knockout without attacking with this Pikachu and Zekrom? Yeah. And if he does attack with it, Gustavo just sends up his own and says, full blitz, tag bolt, whatever. Just do some damage and win.
Yeah, so this requires him, and actually it imposes a really big threat at this moment for Azul. Azul is kind of relying on... Right, there goes a Guzma to bring up that Wobbuffet active. Azul was actually relying on attacking with that Pikachu Zekrom at some point. He knows now that if he does promote that Pikachu Zekrom to the active and decides to attack with it, that it will get knocked out. And Gustavo will win the game, will win the series, in fact. So it's really looking very bleak here for Azul. That, I think, was that Guzma, just to put that damage on that Pikachu Zekrom GX, probably was, which looks to be the final blow. He doesn't even have any bench space to put anything else down.
Yeah, fortunately, with the Wobbuffet active, he can use Tapu Koko Prism Star's ability and get that off the field to get some energy in play. I can see a very outside chance of winning here. He's basically banking on the fact that Gustavo won't be able to move this Wobbuffet this following turn. If that's the case, then next turn he could Guzma, take a knockout on perhaps the Pikachu and Zekrom GX. That's probably got to be it. But, well, actually now with the Tapu Lele GX on Gustavo's board, if Azul can take a prize card here and Gustavo doesn't have Guzma to win the game, Azul can set up for a 5-prize Tag Bolt GX on the Pikachu and Zekrom plus the Tapu Lele. So maybe that's going to be his route to victory here.
Right. Although, slightly cautious that if he does bring that up and Gustavo does have the knockout on that Pikachu Zekrom, I think he's conceding 3 prizes here, which...
Mind.
Yeah, okay. So just going for the sleep flip, which there is a skateboard. So he just needs...
So he doesn't have a lightning energy or a way to switch yet. Okay, I think that's a switch in hand.
Okay, so he has outs to switching that, which he goes for Jirachi. Does he have something that's going to knock out that? I believe no, he's not going to be able to knock out that Pikachu Zekrom this turn, but time is slowly starting to tick down. He's got just a little over 2 minutes here. He will have time, when time is called, he will have a couple of turns to try and get that knockout. But
Gustavo's just passing.
Wow. So
he had a switch. He could have retreated. Oh, no, the Absol is preventing the Jirachi from retreating.
Right. Does he have a switch? Does Gustavo have a switch in hand?
He's already passed the turn. He switched the Wobbuffet to the Jirachi, but now he can't retreat because of the Absol.
Yeah.
I mean, this might be planned. He might just be sitting back at this point because he kind of knows that if Azul attacks with a Pikachu and Zekrom GX, he can simply drop down Tapu Koko GX and Tapu Thunder for the game. So he might just be sitting back and saying, you know what, the action is on you. You have to do something to win this game. I don't.
Right. So in actual fact, it looks very unlikely for Azul here. Still looks like Gustavo is in a better position, but Azul is slowly starting to claw back this game here. Let's see what he gets from this. He's going for the Cynthia there, which he has chosen to get with the Stellar Wish ability. He's got some more Jirachis in hand. He's got, there's Field Blower, which is going to remove that Choice Band, and the Escape Board on Gustavo's side. There goes one Escape Board Cynthia, which goes back in the deck. And we have like a little over 30 seconds here to try and find a winner between these two very experienced players.
Yeah, I feel like if this game had no time limit, I think Gustavo is basically a lock to win at this point. Azul has filled up his bench, so he can't do anything tricky like play a Marshadow and let loose to mess with Gustavo's hand. So I think eventually Azul would just lose. But with time winding down, we might enter a situation where Gustavo is kind of forced to act if he wants to win. I'm not sure if he has Guzma in hand, but he will need it to win on the next turn.
All right, so there is time. Time has finally finished, so judges will be intervening in this game and informing players they have time, well, what we call turn 0 of time, and it'll be 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and that you saw Azul signaling he was turn 0, Gustavo will be turn 1, then 2 and 3, so on. So.
And then so it's another 2 turns for Gustavo to find an out to winning this game. So there is that Pikachu Zekrom GX on the bench there, which has a significant amount of damage counters on it. So that will be his out to trying to win this game. So he'll probably most likely promote something. Okay, yeah, so he promotes the Pikachu Zekrom GX. Does he have the Guzma in hand? He's looking for Guzma. We've seen
he's got any number of things. He can find Tapu Koko GX. There it is.
There we go.
Arrow Trail into the Tapu Thunder GX for, boy, that's a lot of damage.
Very good. And yeah, Gustavo, we saw him win yesterday, again winning on our feature match over here. So congratulations to Gustavo for again winning his feature match here on stage.
I think that was a 450 damage Tapu Thunder GX. I think there were 9 energy. But yeah, congrats to Gustavo, who takes down Azul in this mirror match. Gustavo, I mean, he's on a roll. It's uncanny how, whether it's regionals or special events or